Is the iPhone 12 Pro Max worth it in 2026? Well, in today's video, I'm going to answer that question. I've made this video about the iPhone 13 Pro Max. I'm now making about the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And the next videos coming out will be about the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So if you are excited, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. Let's talk about the oldest supported iPhone with iOS 26. The iPhone 12 Pro Max is the oldest supported iPhone with iOS 26. And if you want to grab this one for $200 for the cheapest iOS 26 experience, this is the way to go. But is it worth it in 2026? Well, worth it is a very, very subjective thing because the iPhone 12 Pro Max does have some advantages and some disadvantages, starting off with the design. This is a very premium design. The iPhone 12 Pro Max feels just like the iPhone 13 Pro Max and 14 Pro Max. It's hefty, it's premium, it's bulky, it has stainless steel sides and a glass back with a matte finish. Feels very premium. Costs $300, feels like $1,000, just like the day that I bought it. And of course, has a triple camera system on the back, has the old notch on the front and a 6.7-inch OLED display. This OLED display does not feature 120Hz ProMotion technology. And this is probably the biggest drawback with the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Its lack of 120Hz. Because other than that, this is pretty much the same iPhone as the iPhone 13 Pro Max with two differences, the camera and the battery. But for $300, you cannot ask more. So in terms of design, you are pretty much getting a premium iPhone from the last generation. This is still an awesome phone with an incredible feel in the hand. It feels heavier and a bit bulkier than the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max, because again, it's made of stainless steel, and the squared off corners, completely squared off corners, they cut into your hand after a while. But other than that, it still feels really good, and with a case on, it just feels like a premium Pro iPhone that costs $1,000. The lack of 120Hz might push you away, but still, in my opinion, this OLED display is awesome. 6.7 inches, super bright, HDR capable, and very smooth. Still very smooth. Although it does not have 120Hz technology, because of Apple's optimization of 60Hz displays, they still had it until the iPhone 16, this still feels like a very, very smooth iPhone that after 1 week of use, you don't really care about 120Hz. Does it suck? Yes, it sucks that it doesn't have 120Hz. And at the time, it was actually a very big thing for me to upgrade for the iPhone 13 Pro Max. But I think that 120Hz, it's the least of your worries. This 60Hz display is super bright, super color accurate, and incredible. The bezels are thin, not as thin as the iPhone 17 Pro, not even close, but they are still thin, and it looks awesome. To watch movies, YouTube videos, use your iPhone, play games, this is an awesome display, guys. You won't be disappointed. Don't really care about 120Hz. I think that's a very big, overrated feature, in my opinion. Yes, 120Hz is overrated, but one thing that this iPhone does lack is battery life. Since the beginning of the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the battery life was kind of bad. Yes, this was not the best battery iPhone since it was new. And so, now, in 2026, oh boy, this does not last 1 day. If you are not a power user, or if you are okay with charging it at least twice per day, that's fine. Then, buy the iPhone 12 Pro Max. $300. It's 3 times as expensive as a new battery for your iPhone. So, if you are considering putting a new battery on your iPhone, old iPhone, or just buy the iPhone 12 Pro Max, just know that $300 gets you this beast. Of course, the battery is not great. Lasts you around 4 hours of screen on time. But it's still usable for 2026. This is not like dying on you 2 p.m., 3 p.m. No, at the end of the day, workday, 7, 6 p.m. And if you plug it into the car while you're driving or while working, it will charge and you won't be having any issues with the battery life. If you are someone that actually spends lots of time in their desk, you can put your phone to the charge. Just have a wireless charger or a cable connected to your computer. It will charge throughout the day and you won't need to actually care about it. So the battery life, it really matters for some. And if that's a big issue for you, don't buy the iPhone 12 Pro Max in 2026. But if not, if you can charge your phone almost anywhere, then yeah, it does not actually represent a big issue. And it's probably one of the worst things about the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So if you are okay with having this poorer battery life, then you have almost surpassed almost every issue that I have with the iPhone 12 Pro Max. But not all, because you still have the triple camera system. And here we are lacking behind, because you have a 12 megapixel main sensor, 12 megapixel ultra-wide, and a 12 megapixel telephoto. The thing is, the ultra-wide and the telephoto are really bad. These are not on par with today's iPhones. And they're not even close, because the main sensor, it's still good. It's the 12 megapixel main sensor, close to the iPhone 13 Pro Max, takes good videos, good photos, still very good for social media actually. YouTube, stories on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, Reels, TikToks, it's still good for that. But if you want to take photos with the ultra-wide, or even the telephoto, you want to zoom in, zoom out, take portrait photography, take, I don't know, even macro photography, this iPhone does not have that. And it does have portrait photography, but the bokeh is not that much natural because the lens is very, very shallow. The portrait photography feels like an afterthought here. And another thing that you need to really care about is the zooming capabilities of the 12 Pro Max. It only zooms in about 2.5 times, so around 60 millimeters, 55 millimeters, which means this is not the best lens for portrait photography because it does not have the adequate focal range. And on top of all of that, the low light performance is terrible. So yes, the iPhone 12 Pro Max was not an iPhone that 6 years later aged that well in terms of camera system. The iPhone 13 Pro Max was much, much better. I think that the camera on the iPhone 13 Pro Max is definitely worth the extra $100 that you pay on the used market. Because the camera on the iPhone 12 Pro Max leaves some room for improvement for this cheap iPhone. Because $300, I know, doesn't get you that much nowadays. But you can buy this iPhone and use it for the main camera. The other ones are almost like the third cameras on Android phones. They suck. And you can tell that by analyzing these photos right here. The ultra-wide camera at night, not the best, definitely not the best, lots of noise. The telephoto at night, trying to do some portrait photography, terrible also. The only lens that actually saves itself at night is the main sensor, the 12 megapixel main sensor, which in almost any scenario is good enough. It's almost like a C, good enough to pass, but not the best, definitely not the best. So in terms of camera system, overall, it's usable. It's still not obsolete, but not the best, and worth the upgrade to the iPhone 13 Pro Max if you have the extra $100. One thing that lots of people don't talk about the iPhone 12 Pro Max, 13 Pro Max, 14 Pro Max is the durability of these iPhones. They were made with stainless steel and glass. Oh boy, and one thing is for sure, they are durable. The sides of this iPhone are still brand new, like from the day it was bought, which is kind of insane. But stainless steel, it's a very resistant material and so lasts and lasts and lasts. This iPhone is 6 years old, guys. It will be 6 years old in September, but it's insane. So no scratches in the back, no scratches in the lens, no scratches on display. I've always wore a screen protector, so no problems overall. In terms of durability, if you buy this iPhone right now, and if you want to use it for 2 years, 1 year even, for iOS 26 or iOS 27, there's no issues. This is still a very powerful and usable iPhone with the A14, the A15, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure. This chip still supports iOS 26. You don't have any type of Apple Intelligence features. Who cares? You can still use Notebook LM, ChatGPT, Gemini Pro, so you have access to all of other AI models. No need for Apple Intelligence, which actually kind of sucks. So you still get the new revamped Siri, no issues there. In terms of support, Apple supports their old iPhones really, really well. So expect using the iPhone 12 Pro Max easily, no problems, super smooth with iOS 26. And even if Apple drops the support with iOS 27, with this iPhone, you'll have still security updates for iOS 26. And it's still very usable. You still have all the other features, the new design language, the new features, the new widgets, all of that are still present here. So even though 6 years later, this iPhone is still evolving and still being supported. You can pay that $200 and grab a very, very inclusive and very complete iPhone for that price. One thing is for sure though, you get access to all of Apple's ecosystem, and that's probably one of the biggest advantages of this iPhone. It costs only $300 and gives you access to FaceTime, iMessage, the App Store, Apple Pay, the AirDrop, anything that you want to use with the Apple ecosystem. This iPhone is still very, very capable of doing so, and in my opinion, still a bargain for the price that it is to give you access of all of those software features. So if you want to grab the cheapest iPhone possible to still use iOS 26, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is your answer. The 12 Pro, I think it has a small battery that degraded faster, and so nowadays it's completely shot. The 12s are not usable anymore, but for these $300 you can grab the 12 Pro Max, which it had enough good cameras, enough good battery life, and still a very premium design for 6 years later to be a recommended iPhone. Cheap, very cheap, don't buy over $250 and try to grab one with good battery health, but it's still worth it. I think it's still worth it. There's still a space for the iPhone 12 Pro Max in 2026. But there's the big but. And I avoided to talk about this to the end of the video because there's something on these old iPhones that you should be very, very careful and thoughtful about. And that's the Lightning port. I've not talked about this throughout the beginning and the middle of the video because For most of you, this is not a deal breaker because you are not thinking ahead. But if you are, then you notice that there's no more Lightning accessories, there's no more Lightning supported devices. This is a dead port. This is an obsolete port. This is 6 years old. The iPhone 13 Pro Max still has the Lightning port. The iPhone 14 Pro Max still has a Lightning port. But that iPhone is 4 years old. And now, 4 years later, we have been using USB-C since the 15 Pro, 16 Pro, and now 17 Pro. 3 years with just USB-C, which is actually a lot. So the Lightning port is being pushed out, completely left behind, and becoming obsolete. Do you want to buy a piece of technology with an obsolete port? That's the question you want to answer, to actually buy the iPhone 12 Pro Max. If this is a deal breaker for you, don't grab one. You'll be disappointed. Charging speeds, transfer speeds, all of that stuff. It's limited with the Lightning port. But the worst part is not being able to charge your device with every single charger that you have at your home. Because now, every single product uses USB-C. And that's a shame. That's a big, big shame. That, in my opinion, for me, to be a deal breaker. But for you, is it a deal breaker? Let me know in the comments below what you think. And while you're there, drop a like below, subscribe to the channel. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.